Yes folks, it's real. I have officially lost my marbles, run out of ideas and lost all my credibility in the retro gaming community. 2 weeks ago I made a video with 6 examples where the NES destroyed the Mega Drive, and I promised that if that video did well, I would pull a reverse Uno card and make a sequel video with examples of when the Sega Master System destroyed the Super Nintendo. Well, turns out that was one of my most successful videos ever, so reverse Uno card it is. This is one for the Sega fanboys. This is the ultimate reverse Uno card.
You have Uno!
5 times where the Master System destroyed the Super Nintendo. If you're a shmup fan, chances are you've heard of Compile and their seminal shmup series, Aleste. Oh, what's that? You've never heard of Aleste? Yeah, you see, when the series was brought over to the West, they just kept renaming it over and over again. But you might have heard about a little game called Musha. Well, in Japan, it's called Musha Aleste, and the Sega Master System got 2 entries into this series, Power Strike and Power Strike 2. Well, actually, Power Strike 2 for the Master System only ever launched in Europe, Australia and Brazil, making it a PAL region exclusive. So this means that the game was never officially given the moniker of Aleste. That is, until 2020, when it was bundled as part of the Aleste collection for the PS4, solidifying its status as an official Aleste game. Anyway, Power Strike 2 is, in my opinion, the best 8-bit shmup I've ever played. Look, I mean no disrespect to NES owners or 8-bit computer owners. Although for the purposes of this video, I'm going to consider the PC Engine as a 16-bit system. But yes, to me, Power Strike 2 on the Master System is the best 8-bit shmup I've ever played, and its biggest competitor is, ironically, Power Strike 2 on the Game Gear. Same name, same developer, same genre, but different game. Aleste is a weird series. In Power Strike 2, you're a pot hunter. No, not that kind of pot. Or maybe it is, I don't know, who am I to judge?
Smoke weed every day.
Basically, it's the 1930s and you're hunting anime sky pirates in a retro futuristic aesthetic, and this game is amazing! Not only does it look incredible with very colorful graphics and a nice color balance, but you've also got a ton of sprites on screen. Seriously, I have no idea how an 8-bit game is able to push so many bullets and enemies all at once, many of which are pretty large, and it does so without ever slowing down. Seriously, this game is a technical marvel for the system. Then you got a very fun power-up system which works very similarly to Musha. You have 8 different weapon pickups, which can be leveled up, and amazingly, they all have their strengths and weaknesses. So it's a good idea to keep cycling between them. Even the music is really good, which is pretty impressive when you consider the Master System isn't really known for its sound capabilities. Well, Aleste would also come to the Super Nintendo under the name Space Megaforce, or Super Aleste, and it's okay, I guess. Most Aleste fans will generally agree that Space Megaforce is considered as one of the weaker entries into the series, and yeah, it kinda shows. The game runs a bit slower than other Aleste games, the music is weirdly mellow. There's fewer enemies on screen than even the Master System version, and to be honest, the game just does not look that great either. I mean, just look at it, it looks kind of average for a Super Nintendo game. I've noticed that the game tends to use a lot of rotation and scaling features, which usually comes with the caveat of limiting the Super Nintendo's colors, so that's most likely why Space Megaforce does not look particularly impressive on the system. But even if we forget the presentation, the scrolling is slower than what we've been used to, and the game feels way more repetitive than other games in this series due to how boring the enemy placement is. And it also has this weird focus on environmental obstacles, so it always seems like every level is trying to pin you against the wall or limit your movement, which honestly, most times it simply does not work, and just makes this game infuriating to play. Now, as mentioned before, there's also a Power Strike 2 for the Game Gear, and this game might just be my second favorite 8-bit shmup, with even better use of color and better music than its Master System counterpart. The game is completely different than Power Strike 2 for the Master System, but the power-up mechanics are mostly the same. My only real complaint with this one is that it's a bit easy and on the short side, but that does make it a very good shmup for beginners. Or you could also play Aleste 2 on the MSX2, and this game is just mwah, chef's kiss. It's an incredible game and you owe it to yourself to playing it. As for Space Megaforce, well, let me put it like this. Master System and Game Gear fans love Power Strike 2. Sega Mega Drive fans love Musha. MSX fans love Aleste. Super Nintendo fans barely remember Space Megaforce even exists, and with good reason. It's one of the weakest entries into this series, and there's just better games out there. So this is one example where the Super Nintendo lost not just to the Master System, but also the Game Gear, the Sega Genesis, the MSX, and if you count Zenek, even the NES. Ouch. Gather around, children, cause we're going back to the Stone Age with this one. Long before your Fallouts, Skyrims, Mass Effects, Final Fantasies, or even Dragon Quests, there was Ultima. Ultima, along with the Wizardry series, is responsible for shaping the RPG genre as we know it today. And one of, if not the most celebrated Ultima game, is Ultima IV. A game released in 1985 for 8-bit computers which featured impressive gameplay mechanics like an open world to explore, a morality system, choices and consequences, party management, a level up system, and lots of gear to loot. You could even just rob, murder and pillage your way to victory in most early Ultima games. But not this one, because in Ultima 4 if you did that, you would suffer consequences to your morality system. But despite the crude graphics, Ultima 4 was a massive leap forward in game design at the time. And believe it or not, I've always held the theory that Ultima 4 on the Master System is the best official version of the game ever made. Why yes, I have gotten weird looks from PC gamers. How did you know? But really, just take a moment and appreciate how much better the game looks on the Sega Master System. And that's because, instead of straight up porting it, Sega basically made a remake of the game for their 8-bit console. So basically Sega remade the game themselves. And unlike the NES version, which massively simplified the game and changed the art style, the Master System version keeps both the gameplay and the art style faithful to the original. And if you have the FM audio expansion installed on your Master System, you even get one of the best soundtrack interpretations of the game. Now granted, the Master System version does not have the first-person view when exploring dungeons. And it also streamlines the controls a bit, which can either be a good or bad thing depending on your preference with the computer versions. But other than that, yeah, this is a miraculously good port. But then you get to the Super Nintendo and oh boy. Okay, so the Super Nintendo got not one, not two, but 3 Ultima games. So let's start with the best one, Ultima VI. Now, I won't get into which is a better Ultima game, 4 or 6. Asking Ultima fans to agree on anything is just asking for trouble. Sure, from a graphical standpoint, Ultima 6 is below average for the Super Nintendo, but it is faithful to the PC original, so I can't fault it for that. But remember when I said the Master System version streamlines the controls? Yeah, this is why I think that's a good thing, at least as far as playing it on consoles go. Simply put, controlling your party in this game is horrible, just beyond awful. There are so many menus and sub-menus and sub-decisions and inventory management and God knows what else that just playing this with a controller will slow down the pacing of the game to an agonizing crawl. You can spend hours on the first city of the game and not get anything done just because you keep fumbling with the menus over and over again. This is what happens when you take a PC game, bring it to consoles, and make the bare minimum concessions of adapting it to the strengths and weaknesses of a controller. You get a game that's faithful to the original but just horrible to control. Then you have Ultima VII, which takes the exact opposite path. This game was so streamlined that it's barely even recognizable as an Ultima game. Ultima VII was a pretty large game, coming in 6 high-density floppy disks, which took 20 megabytes off of your hard drive. Look, I know I'm old, okay, but this number used to be pretty impressive. But it also means that you'd need a 160 megabit cartridge to fit all of the game in it. And that's not even counting the expansion packs. But instead, it got an 8 megabit cartridge, which is worth 1 megabyte of data. That's literally 5% of the space you'd need to port the game. And that's just a vanilla version, not counting the expansion packs. So yeah, there were cutbacks. There were a lot of cutbacks. Content removed, quests removed, gear removed, items removed, dialogue removed, heck, even the entire party system was removed. Now, it's just you, alone, no party members. And that's a big issue because your party members were a big part of Ultima VII. And the world is much smaller now, not to mention that the game also suffered from Nintendo's censorship. Simply put, Ultima VII on the Super Nintendo is a travesty. And finally, we have Ultima Runes of Virtue 2, which came out for the Game Boy and would be later remade for the Super Nintendo. Now here's the kicker. The Game Boy version is actually pretty good. This is a good, if simple, Western action RPG. But the Super Nintendo version was oddly enough simplified and stripped of its content. Who ever heard of a Super Nintendo game having content stripped from the Game Boy original? Well, that's what happened here. It's an ugly game with an art style that contradicts the Ultima series, it has super simple gameplay, infuriating level design, the lore and character descriptions that were on the Game Boy version were removed for the Super Nintendo, the menus were made more obtrusive, and it doesn't even have music during gameplay, something which the Game Boy original actually does. I don't know, it's weird. It feels like the game isn't finished and they simply released it as is. So really, just stick with the Game Boy version. Now, there was actually a fourth Ultima game planned for the Super Nintendo, which was a port of Worlds of Ultima: The Savage Empire. But this version was cancelled, although the ROM was leaked. I gotta be honest though, I never actually played the Worlds of Ultima games, and it does not help that this Super Nintendo version is in Japanese. But the game was reviewed and panned back in the day, and once again, a lot of content was removed. Once again, there's no party system, so you're traveling alone, NPCs have no day-to-night cycle, and the controls are more action-based like Zelda, instead of being turn-based. But it does not look particularly good or fun. So yeah, the Super Nintendo had 3 official Ultima games and 1 cancelled title, and all of them lost to the freaking Master System and the Game Boy. That's just... ouch, Nintendo, ouch. Asterix on the Master System is a classic. I know a lot of you Americans are most likely rolling your eyes right now, but if you were born in Europe or South America, chances are you have fond memories of the Asterix comic book series or the cartoons. And the 8-bit Asterix Sega games are absolute classics. And ironically, they are kind of inspired by Super Mario and Castlevania at the same time. The gameplay is mostly similar to Mario, but then you have these potions that work a lot like the holy water in Castlevania, though they're often used to destroy blocks as well. Interestingly enough, the music was composed by Takayuki Nakamura, who would go on to work on the Virtua Fighter, Airgaze, and Lumines series. And then you have the sequel, which is even better than the first game, with better graphics, some impressive new bonus gameplay segments, and the levels will change depending on whether you pick Asterix or Obelix. There's also a third Asterix game on the Master System, but we don't talk about that one. Now, the Super Nintendo got 2 Asterix games, one just called Asterix and its sequel Asterix and Obelix. The first game is Honestly, not that great. It's a very by-the-numbers platformer. The graphics and audio are not very interesting, and neither are the enemies or level design. It actually kind of reminds me of an Amiga game, but not a good one. I mean, the level design is very Eurocentric, but I'm not sure how to describe it. I mean, I like Euro game design from this era when it's well made, but here it's just not very good. Thankfully, the sequel, Asterix and Obelix, is way better. First off, it just straight up looks better. I mean, look at this! That is some beautiful sprite work and gorgeous backgrounds. The music is still forgettable, but the visuals are simply top-notch and represent the comics really well. But the issue here is the gameplay. There's an odd delay with the controls that does not feel intentional, or at least, the game does not seem to be designed around it. And it's especially bad when you play as Obelix, who is supposed to be the main character in this game. His sluggish controls make dealing with enemies feel like a chore, not helped by the fact that your attacks have a very low reach. At least you have several minigames to play, and they're alright, I guess. But they do help break up the monotony. But they're also not something that'll keep you entertained for long. But add to that this game has a whopping 27 levels and 16 minigames, and I'm sorry, but this game is at least twice as long as it needs to be. But the thing is, I like this game. It's a good game, but it could have been a great game. And it's not. Don't get me wrong. If you're into Asterix, you'll get a kick out of this, and if you're not, you might still enjoy it. But anyone can enjoy the Master System Asterix games regardless of whether or not they've read the comics. Well, 2 of the games anyway. But with the Super Nintendo, it'll really depend on your tolerance with the controls, low attack reach, and just the insane amount of levels here. I'm sorry, but sometimes less is more. And this is one example that despite the Super Nintendo still performing admirably, the Master System simply excelled. A lot of you are most likely gonna hate me for this, but yeah, I don't like James Bond.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
It's a stupid pun anyway. But I think James Bond 2 is the best in the original trilogy, and even that one is... it's fine, I guess. I can usually stomach that one for about 20 minutes before I get bored and then move on. This is another Euro platformer, though in this one, you play as a fish who's capable of extending his body, grab onto the ceiling, and shimmy your way to where you need to go. And this being a Euro platformer, you can also pick up several items that do nothing other than add to your final score. And it has an insane amount of levels. I complained about Asterix and Obelix's 27 levels, but James Bond 2 has 50. Count 'em, 50 levels. God, you think that's enough? Anyway, the SNES version of the game looks kinda basic actually, with few sprites on screen, very simple backgrounds, small characters, and not a lot of animation frames. It's just a little on the basic side when it comes to the graphics. In fact, it almost looks the exact same as the Master System version. If it were not for the backgrounds, you would most likely have a hard time telling the two apart. Though that's also my first issue with the Super Nintendo version. I honestly kinda hate these backgrounds. I'm sorry, but I genuinely hate them. And I'll take the Master System's low-key backgrounds over this mess any day of the week. The music is also not great, but believe it or not, I actually think the Master System version sounds better than the Super Nintendo port. I mean, the Master System version doesn't sound anything out of the ordinary, it's your typical video game stuff. And the Super Nintendo has the exact same songs and sound effects. And while they're better on a technical level, I honestly cannot stand the jumping sound effects or the instrumentation they chose for the songs. sorry, but try playing the Super Nintendo version for 20 minutes and then tell me the sound effects and music don't get extremely grating. And then there's stuff like this, which is just why? Just why would you do this? It's just, it even hurts to look at. Yeah, I'll just stick with the Master System version. Donald Duck in the Lucky Dime Caper and its sequel, Donald Duck in Deep Duck Trouble, are often considered as some of the best platformers on the Sega Master System. The controls are a bit sluggish, with Donald being a bit slow to move, but this feels intentional and the levels are designed around it. Unlike that Asterix game, Donald is pretty expressive in these games, and honestly, these are just really fun platformers with some truly impressive graphics. I mean, again, just look at it. Does this look like an 8-bit game to you? It honestly seems closer to a 16-bit game, or at the very least, a game for a 16-bit computer like the Atari ST or Amiga 500. These are just two very impressive games all around. Now, when looking at Donald Duck games for the Super Nintendo, and only Donald Duck games, you have two choices. Maui, Mallard in Cold Shadow, which is a great game, although I think the Mega Drive version is better, or Donald Duck no Mahou no Boushi, which only came out in Japan. Now here's the issue. Maui Mallard is technically not a Donald Duck game. I mean, it kind of is, but it's kinda not. Okay, so basically this game was supposed to feature an original character created for the game, but then Disney decided that it already had enough ducks, and that they did not need to add new ducks to their repertoire, so they had the developers use Donald instead. But then the developers also stated that this is actually not Donald, but instead it's Donald playing a character as if he were in a movie. But then Disney's marketing also did not want to use Donald's name in the game, which is why in the US it's called Maui Mallard in Cold Shadow. So they're still treating it as if it were a new duck. Look, I love this game, but all I'm saying is that it's in this weird nebulous zone. And even if you do consider it a Donald game, which the developers kinda didn't, and Disney also wanted to hide the fact that it was one. And then there's the issue that he really doesn't act a whole lot like Donald either. Mostly because this was supposed to be a duck interpretation of Magnum P.I. So, Donald Duck no Mahou no Boushi it is then. And to be fair, this game looks incredible. It's colorful, it's detailed, it's beautiful, and the music isn't bad either. Basically, you play as Donald, unequivocally Donald. The idea is that Donald is working several odd jobs to earn enough money to buy Daisy Duck a new hat for her birthday. So far, so good. The issue is that each level plays differently. So on one level you're riding a bike, next you're jumping between windows and cleaning them, next you're rotating the whole world, and next you have a regular platformer. But it all feels a little underwhelming. Again, the game isn't bad. In fact, it's pretty good, but it's also very basic. Like each level has its own gimmick and they're not well explored or tend to overstay their welcome. Ironically, the final levels are the best ones, because here it's a straight up platformer and it plays really great. Like, if the whole game was like this with just a few bonus segments of everything else, I'd be okay with it. But that's the issue. You have to play all the way to the end to get to the good part. And then the game is over. So yeah, it's a shame because this game had a ton of potential, but I feel the level design squandered it. So weirdly enough, if you're in the mood to play a Donald Duck game, and really, why wouldn't you? You're better off playing it on the Master System. Huh. Who knew? So there we have it. 5 games where you're honestly better off playing the game on the Master System instead of the Super Nintendo. Not gonna lie, researching for this one was a pain. I did get some cool suggestions from Sega fans like Aladdin, Double Dragon vs Super Double Dragon, or Desert Speed Trap versus Roadrunner Death Valley, but I don't know, I kinda had some trouble seeing the Master System version as the superior game in these examples. Anyway, what do you think of this list? Are there any games I forgot? Which systems would you like to see compared? I've actually gotten some cool suggestions in which the Atari 2600 surpassed the NES, so maybe I'll do that in the future, who knows? But in the meantime, please keep your suggestions coming, they really help. Hey everyone, thank you for watching Sticka's Retro Corner. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell and share this video. All that fun social media stuff. And you can also support me on Patreon. It may not seem like it, but even $1 is a really big help in keeping this channel going. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Bye!